Hey Rob, this is Nick here, replying to your retro wake up call video. You know, I think you made me realize something that I just never realized before. This is probably the reason I kind of quit collecting, at least for NES games, because I just couldn't afford it. Um, Now, to hopefully stop with my horrible stuttering, I got a little list here, things I want to talk about. So, anyways, I found myself buying a lot of guitar books, for like my favorite albums. I always wanted to learn how to play those things. And, some of those actually go for a lot of money. And whether it be that or NES games or, I've actually been dumb enough to pay the horrible prices for them. So, let's see, I don't have it with me right now. It's over there and I don't feel like getting it, but I have another example here. Recently I got the guitar book for A Night at the Opera by Queen, and the back of the thing says, retail price originally was $20. This book was made in 1995, and it must not have sold well because I had to pay $70 for it. And then there's this thing where it's like all the Police songs, and it was originally retailed for $70, and this thing cost me $250. And you might ask yourself, why would you spend an exuberant amount of money like that? First of all, I have no good excuse. I can give you excuses. For example, I'm a huge Police fan, and of Sting. More of Sting because, I grew up listening to his stuff. My parents played more of his stuff than the Police. But anyways, I'm a fan of both. And, I just felt I had to get everything, that was related to that. But also, like I said, there were some songs I wanted to learn and I couldn't find any tabs online. And I do transcribe stuff, but I'm not very good at guitar because I haven't practiced much on that. I mainly do bass. And I actually do video game music transcription too, I'll transcribe them out in full score, and it's always cool to see the end result. But anyways, I don't think you want to hear about sheet music or guitar books because that's not your forte. So let's talk about game stores. In my area, I don't have any game stores, but there are some in my town. There's one place called Owls. They used to have a second location somewhere else, but it actually recently burned down, which sucks. But the one down here in University District, I go to frequently, or every once in a while, and I actually have gotten good deals from them. And I feel like they're the reason that Game Crazy went out. I'll never forget it. There was a Hollywood video, and with the Game Crazy inside it, and I went in there looking for NES games. I didn't see anything, so I asked the guy, and he's like, if you're looking for retro games like that, you better, you best check out Owls. And they're down the street. You could probably find some stuff. And I went there, and I did. I found some pretty cool stuff. I got Ghostbusters for the Sega Genesis there, one of my first buys there. Not my very first. I can't remember what the first thing I bought there was, but I bought, I bought in quite a few things from that place, and I've gotten pretty good deals on it. And it is a pawn shop. They don't just sell video games. They sell a lot of CDs, a lot of vinyl. They sell some musical instruments. So yeah, it's basically like a pawn shop, and they've been there forever, which I'm surprised because, Seattle's a really expensive place. I've seen so many businesses close down here. Even really rich companies have to shut down their businesses. There used to be a Half Price Books. There used to be two of them. One of them closed down, and then earlier this year, the last one closed down, which was too bad because again, I did find some deals there, not necessarily for video games. In fact, that's one thing. I'm a part of a gaming group on YouTube, and we complain about that stuff where they sell I go to a couple other locations, and they sell video games for just horrible prices. Now, I have found some good deals. There were a couple of Game Gear games there for $4, and those aren't common, not in my area. But, yeah, this idea where game stores or places that sell video games will sell the most common ones for expensive prices, and yet there's actually some that have sold rare games, or I've bought rare games for pretty cheap prices. For example, another place I go to frequent or occasionally, it's actually kind of rare, to be honest. It's called Another Castle. It took me a long time to realize it's referring to Mario, but they actually just opened a third location where Reset Games used to be, which again is another game store. That place sucked, so I'm glad they're gone. Anyways, I bought I think Toxic Crusaders, and I bought Cliffhanger there on the NES, I think for about 10 to 15 bucks. And those games are worth quite a bit more now. Oh, that just brings me up to one thing. The gaming group I was a part of, we had a little trade, a trade meetup, and I bought quite a few things there. I got them for pretty good prices, and I crap you not, I went to the Goodwill after that, and I found some NES games. I like Narc was one of them. Then I found Vice Project Doom for a few bucks, and I bought that, and I find out maybe a few months later, all of a sudden Vice Project Doom is worth 30 to 50 bucks, and I'm like, what the fudge is going on here? I don't know if Pat the NES Punk reviewed it. I'll be honest, I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I have talked to him, and I will say he is a nice guy on that end. I mean, at least he talked to me and didn't brush me off. For all I know, he could have been thinking, oh god, I just want to get away from this guy. I'm not, but like I said, I don't really watch his stuff, and I don't appreciate how people like him are trying to play God when it comes to these video games, these rare video games. Now, one reason I bought those guitar books for really expensive prices, and in fact, I'll show you the most expensive game I've bought, but the reason why I've done this is because, at the time, it's not the case now, but I worked part-time, and I wasn't paying any bills. All the money I brought in was pretty much for me, so to spend on what I want besides food and gas for the week, but that was half of my paycheck. The other half I could spend on whatever I wanted to. So I figured, hey, I can afford it. Why not? Now here's the thing too. I don't just buy video games. I used to buy NES games just for a collection, just so I could say I have them. Now I collect them because I like to play them. Although, I'll admit, it's been a long time since I've pulled out my NES, and yet I still buy games for it. Actually, I've been collecting for Famicom, which, it's a Japanese NES. Yeah, it's a little easier to collect for. I mean, because some games could be expensive, but not, usually they're not too bad. One game I'd really like to get is Kid Clown, but that I actually saw that at the Portland Retro Game Expo last year, and it was $300, and I think I had $500 on me, but it's I couldn't do that. But I can't say I fared much better. So I'll tell you a little story. When I was younger, for my birthday, my dad got me on eBay 40 bucks Wayne's World on the NES. I'll admit it's not my favorite NES game. That's Pool of Radiance, which you dissed, by the way. How dare you? I'm just joking. That was a funny review. I can't lie. You dissed my favorite game of all time, and I laugh. How about that? Anyways, so yeah, I like Wayne's World on the NES. It's one of my favorite games. I know people call me, or I've proclaimed myself the video game masochist because I seem to like all the crappy games, or at least what everyone else calls crappy games. And anyways, so I ended up trading it to someone in our group because I tried to get Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the Ubisoft version, and I failed quite a few times. So I thought this was my only option. So he got me a copy, and I traded him Wayne's World, and then it was man, I really miss Wayne's World. I want to play that again. So, I go to the Portland, or a few years later after I trade it. This is when I'm finally working, last year, and I go to the Retro Game Expo, and I bring cash, because I know it's not going to be a cheap game, and I don't have the cartridge over there, in my box, but I have the case that came in. I'll show you. $120. I'll admit, I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I was so desperate. And I hope that people like me aren't giving collecting a bad name. You know, I'm just, because I could see how that could be so, because like, well, there are people who are willing to spend that kind of money. Well, there's not many of us, because some of us have bills to pay. In fact, I do that now. I mean, I have a car, and I'm paying for that now. You know, to make car payments, I have to pay insurance, and that's a good portion of my check. And, you know, the finance company expects me to pay them. I can't screw around. So anyways, so basically what I was trying to summarize there is, about game stores is I don't get when they sell rare games like really cheap, but then they sell the common games for like really expensive prices. So when I was, now I'm going to talk about emulators a little bit. I used to, there was a guy I used to watch. I'll admit I was more like a stalker of this guy, Elbrian42, and I was just, I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking back then, but I was obsessed with this guy. And he said, I record my footage from the consoles. I don't use emulators, so I pretty much copied and said the same thing. Oh, emulators are crap. But then I found myself using them more and more, so I couldn't really say that anymore. And that's the thing, you gotta just admit it. Some of those crappy games aren't worth the price. You mentioned Little Samson. I'm not saying that game sucks. I remember one of the game stores here called Pink Gorilla. Yeah, it's a weird name, right? They sold it for or they had it for $500. I don't think it's there anymore. I assume someone bought it. But it's ridiculous how much that game has gotten. Maybe I should see if I'm in touch with the composer of that game. Maybe he could hook me up with a cheaper copy. But I doubt it. See, that's the good thing. I don't like a lot of those rare games. I just like all the obscure stuff. There's one I just thought, Bubble Bobble 2, that was one I would like to get, but I don't know if I'll ever be able to because that game has skyrocketed in price. So yeah, emulators, don't have too much of a problem with them, if it's the only way. And if Pat the NES Punk or Game Chasers or, whoever else is going to tell you, that you can't play it on an emulator, you need a ROM, tell them, okay, give me your copy. Well, we're not going to do that. Well, you want me to play it on the actual console, so come on, hand it over. And then they pretty much have to shut up now, then, don't they? Now, one other thing I want to talk about is prototype video games. Those, those ones that never get released, or prototypes of released games that have differences. I know because I have at least one of them. I have a few prototype games. I don't know what a couple of them are. And then one of them is a development cart that doesn't work. And the fourth one is a Bart's Nightmare prototype, which I have footage of on YouTube. And for what I've seen, it does have differences from the final release. Some pretty cool things, like using the FX chip, I think, on the Super Nintendo. So, my problem with people who own prototypes are two things. One, they either won't release the ROM, just for no good reason, they just won't release it. Or two, there is literally a ransom for it, where people, for some reason, have to raise a bunch of money for it. Just for them to, put it on, burn it on a cart, or a reproduction cart, and sell it for, an excessive price. I don't get what the mentality of that is. It's like, yeah, this game was unreleased, maybe it wasn't meant to be seen, but you got it, so let's see it, I mean, this is history. This crap's going to be dust one of these days. And you're pretty much holding on to an artifact like a freaking museum and saying, no, I could preserve this artifact. Or some of these people dump the ROMs on their computers, and that's, you were mentioning in one of your video, or one of the parts of your video, where, you're like, who cares if you have a ROM burner? Just download the ROM. I think they mainly use those for dumping prototype cartridges, or beta ROMs, or beta carts or something like that. I think that's the main reason people have them. Now you're probably asking me, well, what about your prototypes? Aren't you going to get them dumped? Well, I would if my paranoia would let me. Here's the thing. I don't mind doing it. I don't mind getting the ROMs dumped and letting people play like that unreleased version of Bart's Nightmare, and get an experience out of it. It's pretty cool, and I'd love to share that with people. My problem is I can't trust anybody. And what I mean by that is like there's been a couple people who were like, hey, let me know if you want to dump the ROM, or send me the game and I'll dump the ROM, and I'll send it back. Well, how do I know I'm going to get it back? Oh yeah, I think this is some guy on Nintendo Wage. He told me he'd only be interested in buying the prototype for me if the ROM wasn't dumped. And it's like, dude, you just admitted you're an asshole. You're an idiot. You're a moron. You just admitted you don't want anyone to see this game. It's so stupid. And by the way, I'm not planning on selling the games, at least not anytime soon. Maybe if I'm like in real financial distress. Now, I could see prototype games going for a lot of money because, there's only one of them and they were made during the development. It's not like something that was actually publicly released. It is quite an artifact of video game history. But there are some prototypes where they end up being pretty much identical, if not exactly the same as the released version. Those I don't think should be worth much, but those do exist. But I remember this Super Nintendo port of a Genesis game. It was an unreleased Super Nintendo game. I think Socks the Cat Rocks the Hill, or I think that's the name of it. And the guy who owns the cartridge was just teasing people. He literally was like teasing people about getting the ROM and getting it dumped and everything, or releasing it. I think he said he had it dumped, but again, it's just proving what an asshole you are. Because again, that's not something that you can get on an emulator because they didn't release the ROM. At least with Little Samson and games like that, the game was released publicly and there's already a ROM ripped of it. But then there's people like this who have unreleased games and they just want to hold it hostage. Or just be complete D-bags about it. And that's something that kind of infuriates me. It's like, I don't get their mentality. But maybe it's the same mentality of those people who want to sell those games for, an arm and a leg on eBay. I don't know. Okay, I think I got a couple other stories to tell you before I call it quits. One thing is my cousin, who is in the Philippines now. He left all his NES games at my grandma's house at one time. And, he let me have one of them, Paperboy. But I asked him once, because he wasn't there anymore. I think he was in New York or he was in the Philippines. I don't know, but anyways, I asked him, "Hey, can I have your NES games?" Now he didn't have too many like good games. He did have one though that shined, or that one shining gem out of them. I can't remember the exact one, but he had games like Narc and Silent Service. But I think he had Mega Man 6. I think that was on. He had one of the Mega Man games. I know that. I just don't remember which one exactly. Anyways, so I asked him, "Hey, can I have your NES games?" I figured he's never going to play them again. They're just sitting at my grandma's house collecting dust. How about that? And he replies to my message and he says, yes. Just gives me a simple yes. So the same weekend, my dad takes me down to my grandma's to go pick up the games, and they're not there. Well, apparently, my aunt or his mother picked him up because he didn't want me to have them. And it really pissed me off. The worst you could have said, or, you could have said no. I would have appreciated that. I didn't need to be lied to. I'm not a little kid. You don't talk down to me. Come on. And now they're just somewhere else collecting dust. So I don't know if we'll ever see those games again. I'd be really pissed if they ended up getting sold to some collector, because it's like, I'm the one who wanted them. And my grandma's actually got some games too, got some gems. Like she's got a complete certain complete game by HAL Laboratory, and she's got some other stuff, video game stuff, that I'd be interested in. And I don't know about the video games themselves, but my grandma said I could have the other video game stuff that she found. But of course, she rearranged everything in her house, and she doesn't know where anything is now. And of course, she doesn't want anyone going through her stuff. I mean, my grandma's like 80 years old, you know, or she was born in 1938. So, yeah, she's almost 80. And I mean, it's like, you know, again, that stuff's just collecting dust, you know. Give it to me, I'll use it. I'm not gonna sell it, you know. I'll keep those for sentimental value. Just like Pool of Radiance on the NES, I have 2 copies of that, yes. And I know that game is pretty pricey too, but here's the thing. The one copy I have is actually my dad's. He passed it on to me, and I think he's got the instruction manual somewhere. And then at Al's, you know, many years ago, I found a complete copy for $20, so I bought that. And actually, technically, I have a 3rd copy because I have a complete Famicom version too. So, okay, 3 copies of the same game might be a little excessive, but you can see how each one of those holds a special place. I'm not hoarding them just to say that I have them. Let's see. But then there are also Hill's Fart. I found a complete copy of that for $20 a few years ago, and I swear it was a fluke. I swear they meant to sell it for $200 because a complete copy of that game is a lot. Now that's a game my dad used to have, and he hated it. He said it was a piece of crap, so he got rid of it. Check the game out, Rob. Check it out. You'll be sorely disappointed. But anyways, so we sold that to Game Crazy years ago. They wouldn't take the manual, so I actually still have the instruction manual for my dad's old copy. And then I found I found a complete copy of that game for $20, and I bought it because, yeah, even though the game sucks, again, I played it when I was really little. I don't even think I was 5, and again, I can relive the memories of it, you know. And my dad bought his NES games from a place that's actually used to be down the street from my work. Now they're no longer there. They turned into a coffee shop, but now they're just not there anymore. It's too bad too. I mean, I miss the stuff. You know, I wish I could take a time machine back and see that stuff. But one of the games that my dad had too is he had Heroes of the Lance. This is the instruction manual, and I've got his copy of the game too in the box. Sorry, I lost my train of thought about that. But there was one other AD&D game that my dad didn't have. It was Dragon Strike. My dad never found or never saw that in a game store, so I ended up getting it years later. And that one's pretty good. Check it out, by Westwood. Same guys who made Out of the Beholder 2, one of my favorite games of all time, and they made Command & Conquer and Dune and stuff like that. So Lands of Lore too, that's another good one. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is source code. Now, in case you don't know, source code is like the original files that were created to make a video game. And I actually collected a lot of that over time by talking to various video game developers. Now, I'm sure you know who Color Dreams and Wisdom Tree are. They are selling the original floppy disks that the source code's on eBay for outrageous prices, like $300, and they come with certificates of authenticity. And the seller actually has a game has an NES game based on the band Journey. I wonder what that's like. Anyways, now a long time ago, someone got me in touch with Dan Lawton, the guy who founded Color Dreams, and he was a really cool guy to talk to. I talked to him for about an hour, and he gave me the source code to a few games of his, or a few Color Dreams games, and that was pretty freaking cool of him. Because even though he even admitted himself those games were crap, but I told him, here's the thing, you had to work with that, you had to work without official development tools from Nintendo. And actually, Color Dreams had their reasoning. For example, Nintendo wanted too much money to make the cartridges. And that's not just something I've heard from Color Dreams. I've heard that from several other, companies that developed for the NES. And there are a few other reasons too, but I won't go into it. But anyways, there's one developer in particular and I won't say his name, but and I won't say the game, but it's an NES game, and he sent me the 5 1/4 floppy disks to dump because I had a computer that could dump them. In fact, I still have it. And he told me, you know, when you're done, send the discs back. Okay, no big deal. It would be cool to keep them, but, you know, they were his, and I thought it'd be right to give them back. So, I dumped the discs for him, and I gave him the source code. I don't know if he wants me to release it or not. I don't know if he blocked me on Facebook or if he just deleted his account, but either way, I can't find his profile anymore. I have no way of contacting him. So anyways, I sent the discs back to him, and then he told me, I think he told me like he gave them to somebody or he threw them away, or I think he said he gave them to somebody though. And then I could have swore, I couldn't find it last time I checked on eBay, but I could have swore someone actually had the floppy disks on eBay for like an outrageous price. And I give a middle finger salute to whoever did that. So, anyways, one other thing I want to show you before I go is a picture I have on my computer that I took a while back of a goal for the NES. This is a funny picture. You gotta look at this. Okay. If I can get my webcam here. Okay. So, price says $4.99 plus $3.47 shipping. That'd be cool and all, except for $1.49 price tag on the cartridge. Not gonna happen, especially for one of the most common NES games. Because I was looking for Gold 2 for the NES, because I think that one's worth a bit. Anyways, hope my rant didn't bore you, or my response. I don't know if it was much of a rant, but hope you enjoyed it, Rob. Always been a big fan since your Action 52 review, and just continue doing what you're doing. Really respect your work, and you seem to be a pretty cool guy, so thank you for your time if you sat through all 27 minutes through this video. And I'll see you guys later. God bless, and peace out. Have a good one.